Good afternoon. Looks like we'll get this started. Hopefully we won't have too long a meeting today. It's good to have you all here. It's a nice day out, nice fall weather, and we've got a lot of exciting things happening. Anybody have any announcements to start out with? We're going to have a guest that's going to join us pretty soon, and we're going to stop to recognize that guest just to let you know. And so, other than that, let's go ahead and unless somebody's got an announcement they'd like to do, let's go ahead and get started. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes of the previous meeting? If so, I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Governor Ewing, so moved. Governor McCumber, second. All right, thank you. Any discussion at all then? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We got everybody there. Thank you. How about next, get reports. Ms. Ice, you're first as usual.
Thank you and good afternoon. We'll look at the statements for the period ending September 30th, 2013. And we'll look at the cash graph. And cash is reflected at $16.8 million. And this is a decrease of about $200,000 over the prior year. As we move to the next statements, you will notice that there is a change in terminology. And GASB always likes to keep us guessing and make little tweaks here and there. And so the statements now reflect change in net position versus change in net assets. It doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely as S&A or SHRECNA, so we'll work through it as we go along. So the first statement is now the statement of net position. And when you look at total assets, they reflect $125 million. And you can see in there the student AR has a big swing from the prior month, and that's from the payments of all the financial aid to the student accounts in the month of September. Total liabilities show $28 million, and that reflects the bonds payable that we made in September that I let you know about last month. This gives us a total net position on 9/30 of $97 million. Next, we move to the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net positions. And this particular statement gets presented quarterly, and it basically just shows you information on actual versus budget. The next statement is the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, and we look at the difference column. Total operating revenues increased by about $500,000 over the prior year. Total operating expenses increased by $1.3 million over the prior year. Total non-operating revenues increased $473,000, and that reflects in there the information from the state appropriations where we drew down the withholding that we had in the first 3 months of this year, and so those dollars are reflected there to show part of that increase. On the income loss before the revenues, for the current year we reflect $7.4 million, and in the prior year we show an increase of 7.7, and this results in a comparative difference between the 2 years of about $300,000. That concludes my report. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
I might make a comment. We've got a term that we had a meeting before and threw at us, and some of us aren't familiar with. They use the term GASB, and then they threw another one at me today, FASB. GASB stands, and you'll correct me if I don't get it quite right, Government Accounting Standards Board.
Correct.
So when you hear Linda or one of the auditors say use the term GASB, that's what they talk about. And they may use the term FASB, which is Financial Accounting Standards Board. So if they happen to throw that out, that's what they're talking about.
That's correct. They provide the rules that we prepare our statements under, and they're always constantly looking for new ways to present the information.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the top? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Governor Anderson? Okay. And Governor Fleischaker, second? Thank you. All's in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you. Next, our Vice President for Business Affairs, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you. Give you a brief construction report. Since our last meeting, we've hired R.E. Smith Construction as our construction manager on our 3 major construction projects that we have going on right now. Those are the residence hall plans, the FEMA shelter plan, and the athletic support facility plans. They are currently working with our architects. There's 2 separate architects on those jobs to refine and fine-tune the budget, which will be brought to us hopefully in time for our next board meeting. So we will have a budget meeting hopefully prior to our next board meeting. As many of you may already know, we held a press conference yesterday to announce the plans to build a baseball stadium on our campus. And I know I'm probably jumping the gun on probably these 2 guys' reports, but since I can go first, I can take it. The stadium is going to be located just to the east of the softball fields, and we are currently underway, fundraising efforts are currently underway by these 2 people to raise funds for the estimated cost of $2.5 million, and I really hope they get it. It's going to be great. It's in the report, Jerry.
Halfway there.
Halfway there. We're already halfway there, which is great, which is the reason we had the announcement yesterday. The trail project with the city of Joplin, that's still in their court. They're working with the engineers on that. Finally, a non-construction item, our open enrollment period for our health insurance continues through October 25th on the campus. And visiting with Debbie this morning, as of today, we have 333 of our 526 employees have turned in their forms, which means there are 193 of you out there that have not. You have 1 week to do so. Debbie's been working real hard with her office, and they have been going out to the various buildings and have open enrollment sessions from 7 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. The employees can come and talk with them and turn in their forms. They have 1 last session, actually 2. Both of them are on Monday, 7 o'clock to noon in Anderson Justice Center, room 125, or from 1 to 5 on Monday at Webster Hall, room 129. And if you can't make those sessions, as always, the HR department is available for you to talk with them, go visit with them in Hearns Hall. Turn those in. Any questions?
I've got something real quick. I don't know if we've ever used a construction manager before,
We have not.
and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Sure.
I'll help out if the president can. Could you tell me a little bit about what a construction manager does?
Construction manager gets the contractor on board early in the design process so that they can work hand in hand with the architects in designing the facilities. They can look for ways to save money. They can prevent problems before they occur when they both are there together. And using a construction manager, you limit your change orders greatly. Very rarely happen.
Thank you. And also, a lot of them, and one other additional benefit you get is that sometimes they can even improve the quality of your construction too. They see some things
They make suggestions. 2 heads are better than one in that this regard. We've got one that's actually designing and one actually putting it together, so they both of them together, they can come up with a better product.
So we're really looking forward to this experience.
We are.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Hughes? Okay, our athletic director, Mr. Bruggeman.
Thank you. I will keep mine brief. I do have a few upcoming events, particularly we have the 1993 football team that was the co-conference champions of the MIAA is going to be on campus this evening and tomorrow for the football game, so we welcome them back. We have about 30 or so of the 90. Some have passed away and other ones coach in the football world, so not available. However, we're looking forward to recognizing them tomorrow. Meet the Lions is Thursday, October 24th at 5:30, and that's the kind of the kickoff of the basketball season, so that's here next Thursday. We also have Spike or Treat on October 29th, which is a opportunity for the community to come to Leggett Platte, watch a volleyball game, and we also have booths set up for candy distribution, and there's awards and prizes and activities. Finally, a couple of dates that are, we have a lot of things going on homecoming weekend, so I won't get through all that, but I will say that the men's basketball, we're playing University of Arkansas Friday, November 1st at 7 o'clock down at Arkansas. That's homecoming weekend. Also, that Sunday, then, we have a women's basketball. We're playing University of Arkansas at Arkansas, November 3rd at 2 o'clock. I wanted to thank a few folks here for the KSN Morning Show in Young Gymnasium a few weeks ago. That was a fantastic event. There was a lot of people that made that happen, including sororities, fraternities, students from all across campus, CAB, URM, the cheerleaders and the marching band, and all of them were involved, and a lot of folks. It was a nice activity. Reminded me of the game day you see on Saturday on ESPN. It was that kind of environment, so that was fantastic. Did I jump on anything there, and was that in yours?
You're good.
Okay, good.
Scratch that off.
Scratch that off. Oh, sorry, jumped on yours.
Poor planning.
So a couple more things just regarding facility updates. If you have looked over at Fred J. Hughes Stadium, you'll see that there is a new banner on that faces towards the road. I want to thank Randon Coffey from Athletic Marketing, Sign Designs, and Kavala Bus Lines for making that possible. That's quite an enhancement and improvement to the look of the facility. And then finally, I did put in your packet some of the press releases of the different activities. But regarding the video board, we had some great press at that event when we did the press release on that and had a ceremony at Leggett Platte. It's our intention to have that video board up and running prior to Thanksgiving. It is a challenge to find 5 consecutive days in November in Leggett Platte to do anything, let alone install that video board. So as many activities as we do in there. I do want to thank the anonymous donors, the physical plant, Department of Communication, IT, URM, Athletic Marketing, and Corey Reed from the Athletics Department for facilities of making that quick timeline possible. This will be a premier video board at any level. It's a tremendous asset to the university. There's an opportunity for revenue generation, educational programs with the Communications Department, game atmosphere enhancements, and the Joplin area as a whole. We're going to use it not just in sports, but it's going to be used for commencement exercises, rental opportunities. We do commencement there. We're also Carl Junction, Webb City, and Joplin also uses that for commencement exercises. So anyway, I just wanted to say it's going to be a great event, and we're looking forward to that being in here next month. That concludes my report.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Broyland? Thank you. Let's interrupt the proceedings. We have a guest here.
Yes, we do. I'm really delighted to be able to introduce someone we're very, very proud of. You've probably seen him on the news last night or maybe this morning. He's a award-winning, he's a graduate of our School of Education, award-winning friend here in Joplin. Tobin Schultz received his bachelor's degree in education in 2002. Is a recipient of the 2013 Missouri Milken Educator Award. This award is known as the Oscars of Education because it's so rare and prestigious. The Milken Family Foundation quietly seeks out and researches teachers nationwide. Recipients often don't even know they're being considered. Tobin is the only teacher in the state of Missouri who will receive this award this year. He's recognized with a $25,000 prize. We've heard high praises, read things about you in the paper, and Tobin's dedication to his students is well known. His colleagues and former professors say that the award couldn't have gone to a more deserving person, and we're just proud that he's alive and with us today. So if you would, welcome Tobin Schultz.
Inviting me to come in today. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to Missouri Southern. I was a student here from 1997 through 2002, but since that time have continued to rely on Missouri Southern to educate me. As a coach, I can't tell you how many times I've come back to visit with coaches for the Missouri Southern football team, and Coach Day has been probably one of the most influential people in terms of how I approach the game of football. And And so even though I was a graduate in 2002, for the last 11 years, Missouri Southern has continued to be just a big influence on me, and I've gained a lot of knowledge from a number of really important educators here. Missouri Southern is also continuing to partner with me in my efforts at Joplin High School and our entire school district. And in fact, we have a big event on Monday and Tuesday that Missouri Southern is a very large sponsor for. They purchased 700 t-shirts so that 110 juniors and seniors, along with over 550 freshmen, can all attend an event wearing the same shirt, and on the back of it says MSSU Lions. So we really appreciate your contribution. But thanks again for having me, and appreciate all that Missouri Southern has done.
Congratulations to you. Fantastic. All right.
Next, we got the Vice President for Development, Ms. Joanne Graham.
That was way more interesting than my report. We were just joking that by the end of all the reports, nobody's going to have anything left to say, and I think it's because we keep kind of ticking off things on our reports. But the testament to that's a testament to the fact that we do so many things collaboratively, and that we work together and partner on so many things. So it's kind of fun actually to say, okay, are you going to talk about this or am I going to talk about this? Because we're all involved. But a few alumni events coming up. This week we have a reception in Kansas City because we continue to try to reach out to our alumni in regional pockets. So we'll be up there Wednesday evening in Kansas City, and Dr. Marble and Dr. Grossbeck and Dr. Smith are all going to be joining us. We know we have a number of business alums up there, and so we're also looking for them to having the opportunity to meet Dr. Marble. So for those that don't know him. Student Alumni Association had a networking luncheon recently where we brought back alumni to meet with the Student Alumni Association. So mentoring, basically. So accounting students that could sit down with an alum that was had been in the accounting program as well. So it's a great way to bring our alumni back on campus, have them here on campus and have them learn some things that are going on, and to assist our young leaders who are going to be in their shoes a few years down the road. So great event there. And as you heard from Mr. Bergman, the homecoming is certainly coming up. So that'll be here before we know it, with lots of activities, many things that you'll probably hear about from student activities as well that will be happening. The alumni reception is Friday evening, as typical, at the Ralph L. Gray Alumni Center, and then Saturday the brunch to honor our outstanding alumni, the parade and the game. So lots of fun things that will be happening. And that runs the whole week of October 28th through November 2nd. So we'll have that coming up. And I mentioned the KSN spot we did last week, which was fabulous, and everybody really pulled together to make that happen. And that's a reminder to me also that we have another spot coming up this next week in conjunction with the Paint the Town Green festivities. So you'll see us on the air again soon. Baseball facility, Mr. Hughes has already touched on that, so hopefully you saw some of the coverage on that and reaching the public phase of our campaign for the baseball facility on campus, which is very exciting. We've been working on that for some time now, as I think many of you know, in the silent phase of that, and had taken some time off after the tornado because it was more appropriate for the community to heal before we really resumed our fundraising for that. But have been back working diligently on that for the past few months, and are excited that we're really there at the halfway point, and we'll probably talk about that a little more at the next meeting and have some updates on that. So number of great donors, hopefully you saw listed in the paper this morning, some of our lead donors that have really stepped up to the plate and are helping with that, and some great naming opportunities. We also this week had a very nice luncheon with some of our partners with Edward Jones. Financial advisors are an important audience for us as well, and Edward Jones has been great. They have sponsored the Edward Jones Investment Center in the Robert W. Plaster School of Business, and it's a great center, and it's a real hands-on learning opportunity for our students to really go in and actually work with investments. They have real money and they manage portfolio and have an investment policy that they have to follow. And so it's a great opportunity to bring those donors back on campus and see kind of the fruits of what they've done with that contribution and how that impacts the students. And to learn about other giving opportunities that are currently happening on campus as well. As a reminder also, we have our Lantern Society dinner next week as well. So lots of busy things. October's a busy month. So that's happening on Tuesday to honor our larger donors over the years, and we so far have about 100 people that have RSVP'd for that event, so we're looking forward to a nice evening on Tuesday. And I'll let you read the rest of the written report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I've got one. We are still taking contributions for the baseball facility. There's many of us that are looking forward to seeing that actually happen. And I'm gonna get some help here. If you wanna make a contribution, all you have to do is send it to Missouri Southern Foundation, and I do not remember the address.
It's the same address as the university, so 3950 Newman Road, here in Joplin, and or you can just call us at 625-9396, and we'll take care of you. So.
Okay, and if you happen to send in a check, just put it on the bottom corner of the check the baseball facility, and they'll know.
We will know.
So they can get it where you want to put it to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there are many phases or many pieces to that campaign that will be ongoing as we continue to secure the rest of the funding for that project. So.
We're looking forward. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Could you talk about the steel drum ensemble, please?
Yes. We are in process of a fundraising effort for a steel drum ensemble here on campus. This is actually a collaboration with, I'm looking around, there's Chad in the back, and with the music department as well. Working on the World Music Festival is an event that they're planning for the spring. And
April 20th.
April.
Is that
March 28th.
Oh,
Thank
March
you.
28th. March the 28th.
March, April, you had a good shot. It was one of those months.
You know,
The director of our percussion, many of you know the drum line, and he has an interest in a steel drum ensemble. And so I've been thinking about that, and it was a great opportunity to collaborate with the International Institute as they come together on this. So we're working to raise $25,000 to purchase a steel drum set to start this ensemble, and it will be an opportunity not only for obviously our students to learn and to practice and to go out into the community, but also community members next fall would have the opportunity to participate in this. So if you really would like to be part of a steel drum ensemble, you can participate, but also go out into the community and take it to schools and have students have the opportunity to come on campus or after school programs and things to help with that. So there are lots of interesting things that are happening with that, and I think it'll be fun when that happens. So thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Governor Cumber's gonna do that, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm making a to-do list on that, but you will have to talk to my wife about me having a drum in the house. That's all I'm saying.
We'll buy your earplugs.
There you go.
Anything else? Thank you. Okay, the next one, we have somebody we don't get a chance to see as much. Dr. Lemons is with us today, and she's the Vice President for Student Affairs, and she's representing Dr. LaPierre. So, Dr. Lemons. Academic Affairs, what'd I say? Student Affairs, okay. Got students on the mind.
That's fine.
Anyway, we're happy to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. LaPierre is busy traveling to a dual credit accreditation conference in Florida. Had she not been traveling, I'm sure she would want to be here rather than on her way to Florida, but we'll do the best that we can. The first thing that I wanted to mention was Alpha Chi, our induction ceremony is coming up. This is going to happen on Sunday, October the 22nd or 27th. It starts at 1:30. I think all of you had received an invitation to that. We are inducting 75 juniors and seniors who have an accumulative grade point average of 3.75 or higher. This is a National Honor Society. I think Dr. Marble is going to be our featured speaker this time. We're going to have a platform party of faculty to induct these students as well as administrators, so it should be a good ceremony to come and attend if you can.
Crystal, do you have to have 3.75 to be the featured speaker?
No. Nor on the platform party.
Okay.
And I also want to say in regards to that, there's quite a bit of work that goes into pulling this together. And I'd like to send out a special thanks to Ann Quaddy, who's our administrative assistant in the VP of Academic Affairs office, and then also Vicki Spencer, who is a member of the Teacher Ed faculty. They've done a lot of work to pull that together. So I think that'll be a nice ceremony to attend. On the academic side, we know that the Program Prioritization Task Force has released its report, and currently the departments are, hopefully, this should be good for discussion, hopefully discussing what opportunities they might have for improvement, and then also having those discussions with their deans. I know this is something that we're going to be talking about next week at our Deans and Department Chairs meeting, and so work will continue on that. And we've asked departments to submit what they think they can do for improvement, and then we'll submit that to President's Council over time. We are continuing to work on the faculty handbook. This is a major project. We actually have a task force that has been meeting weekly since the beginning of September. There's many different components of the handbook that has to be thought of. We talked a little bit last time about the tenure document. That's a piece of that. And so work continues on that. A lot of work has gone into that. We also are right in the middle of seeking approval from our Higher Learning Commission, our accreditation process with HLC, with our 2 graduate programs. We look forward to submitting those packets soon and getting a response back on that. That's one step forward into expanding our roads into graduate education on campus. We also have several certificate programs that are going to be up for approval as well. We have environmental health certificates and entrepreneur certificates, and some in business management that we've seen be developed and go through. And then also this time of the year, one of the things that we really start to look at is what our needs are with our faculty job positions. And so all of the deans have been busy trying to figure out what are the needs that we have in these areas, what are the vacant positions that we have. So this is the time that we get a lot of our job searches started, and it becomes a pretty large task to prioritize where those needs are, but we're right in the middle of working with the deans on that. And then finally, I think later on in our meeting, we're going to be highlighting some of our art faculty and some of their work with the community. So I think we'll save that for later on the agenda, but we'll circle back around to that. And I'm brief today. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Dr. Lucas? Okay, next we have a Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Mr. Darren Fuller.
You have a lengthy report in front of you there, so we'll highlight a couple different things in different areas, kind of give you a flavor for what's happening. One of the areas is talking about one of the initiatives the Bursar's office has put into place. We implemented an in-house tuition payment plan system this year. Total number of enrolled students in that is 649 compared to 485 that we had last year with a third-party vendor. And the customer service is much improved by doing it in-house. Also with that move, it allowed us to recapture so far this semester over $23,000 in fees that had been going to that third-party provider that the university has been able to reclaim. And it also will allow us, as soon as enrollment starts after the 1st of November for the spring semester, those payment plans will be open for the students and allowing us to offer even up to 7 different payments as opposed to a 5 to 3 payment plan that we have under the old system. So, and our staff, Senate Representative Alicia is spearheading that in her shop, so I'll say thank you there. Let you know what a couple of our student groups are doing. The Kappa Sigmas received the Founders Award for Chapter Excellence, and that goes to the top 25 chapters in the nation out of the 316 total Kappa Sigma chapters. That's for outstanding community service, service back to the campus, philanthropy, fundraising, and outstanding leadership. And so we want to say thank you to them. The Zeta Tau Alpha sorority also had a very successful Pink Week, and to date, and they're still raising money as well. So if you haven't given, they're still taking donations. But their Pink Week raised so far $1,300 for breast cancer awareness. So we want to say thank you to them. We talked a little bit about the government shutdown. Unfortunately, we weren't extremely impacted, but our veterans and our Missouri Gold cadets were impacted by the government shutdown. Even to the fact of our cadets were not able to drill. They do physical training every day. That's considered PT training, if you're familiar with the military terms, and they get compensated for those things. That was placed on hold. Our veterans, any of the tuition assistance that had paid prior to October 1st, we were fine, but for students taking 8-week classes that started after October 1st, there was no tuition assistance, and some of the GI benefits were withheld. Some of our reservists didn't receive checks for September and for October. So financial aid and our advising counseling testing area, along with even Captain Self and her crew, reached out to our veterans to make sure that they knew where their opportunities, if there were loans available to them, or if we needed student employment to get involved. And so we were able to do an outreach for those students as well. A couple events that are coming up to let you know about on Halloween night. This will be our 18th annual Safe Halloween. Many of you that have been around for years will remember this started in the residence halls where the students would set up trick-or-treating for faculty, staff, children, and community children. You don't even have to be affiliated with the campus to come and trick-or-treat in the residence hall. It had outgrown McCormick Hall, and so it will be held on the Oval. And if it's inclement weather, will be held in the Recreation Center. And I had a little over 600 children in attendance of that event. So it's kind of like a Halloween carnival or a fall festival carnival, lots of free candy. And so last year we were even fortunate to have several faculty and staff members show up in costume. And those pictures are out on Facebook and places if you want to see some of those. November 10th, Omicron Delta Kappa, which is the National Leadership Honor Society. You've heard Dr. Lemons talk about the Honor Society. This one is a National Leadership Society which honors students that are not only good students, but also outstanding leaders on our campus. And so we'll be inducting about 24 students into that Honor Society. So thank you to Dr. Garut and Dr. Freeman for heading that up. And I want to say thank you to the faculty staff again to let you know, and Joanne mentioned this earlier, Missouri Southern really can't do anything one at a time. In our infinite wisdom, we scheduled Legacy Day, our Saturday tours for prospective students, and then also had Family Day in conjunction with the football game. And so we really stretched the faculty and the staff pretty thin a couple of weeks ago. And so having faculty show up for Legacy Day, which are our children or grandchildren of alums that come back to the university. Family Day were families of students currently here at Missouri Southern, and we had 64 family members show up for those events. And then we also had over 100 people here for tours, and so the deans and various faculty and staff showed up to help us man all of those events. And so we just want to say thank you and let you know the good work that is going on, even on Saturdays, bright and early and late in the afternoon. So the other items I'll leave for you to peruse in the report at your leisure, and I'd answer any questions.
Any comments or full? Thank you. Next, we have our faculty senate president, Dr. Joy Moore.
So, I didn't keep this that brief. I'm sorry. I'll abbreviate a little bit as I go.
Go ahead.
But so by this point of the semester, some students are getting completely stressed out, and some students are realizing they need to bear down, and some students who were quiet and seemed like they were completely out of it on day one are now totally involved, and it's just all over the map. But basically, we're seeing evidence of skills and confidence improving, and serious efforts coming to fruition, starting to come to fruition, and evidence of students who need to cut back on their hours at the mall and all that kind of thing. So it's the middle of the semester, and we're right kind of in the thick of it. So that's item number one. Item number two, continuing signs of improved communication between various constituencies on campus. I just wanted to point out that faculty and staff Senate executive committees had a very productive meeting together, which to my knowledge is the first time that we really coordinated that way to have a meeting together with the President's Council in order to talk about the document produced by the task force and try to figure out how to move forward with that in a productive and responsible way. So that, I think that was a really good process that we joined together for that conversation, and really appreciated that it was an open discussion and felt like our concerns were really heard. So that was much appreciated. 5 members of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee went to the Missouri Association of Faculty Senates in Jeff City. That's a meeting that takes place twice during the year. And so this was the fall meeting. It's where Faculty Senate representatives come from all across the state, and we hear from, we hear reports of what's going on those campuses, and then we also hear reports from COFE and from the Missouri National Educational Association and from the American Association of University Professors. So it's a very informative meeting. So that's what a lot of these things here are about. I'm not sure that you really want to hear all of them, but the main themes, I guess, were various ways of addressing issues around faculty remuneration, given the recent sort of historical shift from that's tending to lessen the amount of resources that go to faculty and kind of as other aspects of institutional expenditures increase. So a number of different institutions talked about basic salary issues, if it was incentive programs, kind of merit pay issues, different ways of thinking about faculty development in terms of summer research grants, and even one institution that's having every department get a 1-course reduction just so that their faculty can be encouraged to do research. So that was one sort of theme that kept coming up. Another theme that made us feel reassured, I think, was so many campuses are looking at their organizational structures and their committee structures and their handbooks and their policies in their handbooks, and there's something just in the air right now with lots of institutions working hard on that, and it's really a huge task, but we're not the only ones. That was kind of reassuring. But the biggest theme probably was just the general budgetary problems for higher education, which goes hand in hand with public perception of higher education and kind of those sorts of issues and challenges. And so there were some ideas, about how to get maybe alumni and students and parents kind of involved and more activist in terms of encouraging the legislature to actually appropriate a bit more money in our direction. One idea that a lot of people were chiming in about was just bringing legislators to college campuses and having them actually, more and more see not just that we're opening a new building, but maybe get them to see more about what's happening educationally somehow, have them attend a class or be part of a panel discussion or something. So, but definitely that was the biggest theme of the meeting, had to do with just how to find ways to influence the legislature to be a little bit more generous to higher education. There were some other miscellaneous items there of interest, but maybe the most interesting one in a way that was jaw-dropping to me was when the newly named Rolla Institution, what are they called now? They're the Missouri University of Science and Technology. Have they always been called that? No, they changed that name. Right. And they're doing this restructuring, and they're somehow planning to have, their numbers have been growing, but they're also planning to have 500 more undergraduates and between 200 and 400 more PhD students in the next 5 years. This is what they said.
Wow.
I don't know whether that's really going to happen, but that was a very striking moment. So Faculty Senate had our October meeting, and basically the biggest issue there was a lengthy and unresolved discussion of the proposal to change our writing curriculum across campus. And I think it's a really healthy sign that there was an active discussion. Because, of course, improved communication doesn't necessarily mean that things just happen really quickly and completely smoothly and without any disagreements. So that's a conversation that's going to continue, and I haven't heard back yet from Vice President for Academic Affairs office, but I think I'm going to order a gavel. And that's my report.
A water gun.
That could work, but sometimes, you know, the room's too big.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Gordon? Okay, next we have Staff Senate. Ms. Alicia Hughes.
Thank you. The Staff Senate Elections Committee plans to meet next week to determine the winner of our quarterly Southern Service Champ Award winner. The senators will also meet on Monday to talk further about Restore the Roar, which is our upcoming hopeful in-service day that we're trying to get a proposal together to take to President's Council, and the potential for a possible staff and faculty bonfire, which is kind of our party with a twist.
Oh, yeah.
We have an ad hoc staff survey committee, and they are finalizing the survey and building it in SurveyMonkey at this point. And they're anticipating to send that to the staff at the end, towards the end of November. We're in hopes that it'll give us a good idea of the direction that Staff Senate can take to help improve the retention and the morale of our employees, and to recruit the great employees that we know we already have at Missouri Southern, but to recruit more of those when we have a vacant position. Other than that, I just want to extend a sincere thank you and just a gracious thank you to Dr. Marble and the members of President's Council for including the staff and faculty senates in the continuous quality improvement document. And in that process, it was just a great feeling to know that we were included and that our feedback was actually solicited there. We hope that the open communication and the partnerships can continue, and we just appreciate wanting to bring us together that way. And we hope that it helps us make the steps forward to improve our university even more than it already is, because it's pretty great. Other than that, our next meeting is at 9 a.m. on November the 13th, so come on by. That is it.
Well, I appreciate your comments on the open communication. I'd like to clarify something on the bonfire. You don't intend to roast any of us at this stage.
Not at this point.
Okay. I'll volunteer someone. Thank Jared. Just kidding.
It'll be warm.
Questions or comments from Ms. Hughes? Thank you for that report. Okay, next Student Senate, Mr. Noel Trippett.
All right, well, as Dr. LaPura touched on briefly, midterms just came and went, so students are either relieved or slightly worried about their current state of grades, but at least that's out of the way for better or for worse. Our PR committee is currently planning a block party, which we had to push back due to complications. They are planning it on the dorm side of campus to try to connect better with those students who we feel do not connect as well as most, I guess, traveling students who just only come to the campus side. So we want to try to connect with them better. Additionally, the Capital Improvements Committee is looking at ways to expand upon and add to the mural project that is in the tunnel. Currently there's only a few segments of it that are painted, so we want to add a few more to improve it and make it more beautiful than it already is. Also, we opted by popular vote to send 2 homecoming candidates to the court to be voted on. Chairwoman Mary Duncan and Chairman Corey Garr. And also this year, different from previous years, we opted not to go to a conference in St. Louis for the SGA, just due to a lack of interest in it, and this will probably save us a few dollars also, so I think it'll be good for us in the long run. And also, as Mr. Fulton touched on, ODK has just accepted a few new initiatives, and one of our executive members, Ashley Tomlinson, who is our treasurer, was tapped and accepted to be a member of that. So we're pretty excited and proud for that. I believe that is all that I have to report at the moment.
Yeah. Any questions or comments for Mr. Tripp? Thank you for that report. Next, we got board committees, and we did have a budget audit committee meeting, and Governor McCumber is the one that chaired that, so we'll have him talk about that.
Thank you very much. We did meet this morning at 10:30, and the main purpose of the meeting was the presentation of our annual audit. BKD was there. They're in the room now, and they presented the annual audit to the committee, and I will defer to them. They're later in the meeting. They'll make that presentation to the full board. We also heard a presentation on the selection of a bond underwriter. We had sent out a request for proposal earlier to select a bond underwriter for an upcoming bond issue if one is made. And I understand that it was sent to 10 different vendors, and we received 6 responses back from that RFP. And there was a review committee of employees, Linda, Rob, and Jeff Gibson looked over those. And to that end, the board budget audit committee submits to the board our selection of Edward Jones as our preferred provider for underwriting. This does not reflect a financial commitment at this time. Costs are not incurred until we proceed with a bond issuance or refunding opportunity. However, this does facilitate an accelerated timeline whenever we are ready to move forward with future bond activity. In the discussion of that, we asked what criteria was used to select these people. And I know they looked at a lot of different things, experience in the business, different places that they have underwritten bonds. And they said that even though the initial costs from Edward Jones were a bit higher, when they looked at the total P&I, principal and interest over the term, that Edward Jones was considerably cheaper. So that's why the decision was made. So on behalf of the committee, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we select Edward Jones as our bond underwriter.
Okay, do I have a second? Second? Governor Fleischaker? Okay. Questions or comments? Pretty quiet. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Oh, thank you.
In addition, Mr. Chairman, we also had a initial discussion on the residence hall that has been discussed at times, and we are planning on having another budget audit committee to bring that to the table, and we're planning on having that meeting at 10:30 on November 15th, which will be right before the next scheduled board meeting. And I would like to invite all the governors that could be there to be, because it will be it's a big decision that we've got coming up on that. And I believe that's all my report.
Thank you. So that will be very important, as Governor McCumber has told us that we have a pretty significant impact on our university, and so that's why he's urging all governors to be there for that budget audit meeting. And the only other committee that we have that's got some activity is Governor Buchanan and I are on a presidential search committee, and she's asked her if she talks. She has a lot of better way with words. Sounds a whole lot better than I do, so I asked her if she would talk a little bit about it.
Thank you. Chairman Walter and I are co-chairing the effort for the presidential search. And I think we've heard him say several times since we went through our transition last summer that we will be very deliberate about this, because it's probably the most awesome decision that this board has to make for the welfare of this university. So a brief update is that we are presently trying to put some structures into place. Last month, Chairman Walter distributed some books on presidential search to various constituents throughout campus, and I believe there are some in the library. So we're encouraging everyone who can and wants to be part of this process to look at those books, to get some ideas and be collectively gathering thoughts and ideas for the board. And also reaching out to various people who can represent not only the campus, but the community on an official search committee that will be forming as the semester proceeds. And then I'm guessing, I'd throw out an estimate that probably at the beginning of next semester, we'll start seeing some very active meetings start taking place.
Thank you. And there are 3 copies in the library. Also, what we're doing is the different organizations that we're trying to get involved, we're asking them to select a representative for us. And that takes a little time too, but one organization that we've had let me put it this way, we've had a positive response. He was saying that it was really a good way for her to do it, for the organization to select their own representative, presidential search committee, and so we think it is too. So we're looking forward to that happening. Thank you. Next we have Dr. Marble to give us a little report.
My turn?
Your turn.
This has been a busy and full month, like last month and the month before, probably next month, I suppose. It started off for me really kind of an interesting way with President Wolf of the University of Missouri system calling to see if perhaps I could spend a day with him traveling around to meet people in the area, because he was on a statewide mission to do sort of what Dr. Dortman was talking about, to try to raise the level of public interest in higher education, because frankly I believe, as he does, that maybe it's waned over the past few years, especially as it affects students in junior high, because that's where they need to start making plans. So we spent the day together. Our first stop was in the Webb City Junior High, where we spoke to some children. He did I thought, a fabulous job. I think very sincere and authentic person, and I know made a big impact on those students. And I think that perhaps changed some minds about what they're going to do in the future. I found it just very, very refreshing, frankly. We also made a couple of stops after that. One at Eagle Pitcher to take a tour of the battery facility where Dr. Straight is there. President Wolf made some comments about trying to partner with Missouri Southern. And in fact, one of the partnership opportunities may have to do with MOCAP, with the Missouri Center for Advanced Power that we have access to here, and with the university's research capacity. So we will pursue that. He also mentioned UMKC Dental School, how he'd like to push forward with maybe an extension here, which is very, very positive for us, we believe, because it will help, obviously encourage STEM students to choose Missouri Southern, and hopefully these 7th graders that we talk to at Webb City and other schools will see more opportunities as we continue to grow. Plus, it creates new revenue streams for us, we hope. And it's hard for me, I guess, to get off the budget stuff, because I'm an old chief financial officer and drives me back there. But those are things that we just have to consider. And the reason, I guess, if you want to circle back to why we have to consider that, is just frankly, state appropriations at Missouri Southern are $3 million below where they were in 2009. Just think about that. 2009, $3 million more in state appropriations than now. Did tuition keep up with that? Well, no, it hasn't and couldn't, because of state laws that prohibit tuition increases. Plus, we don't want to balance the budget on the backs of students. That's not what we want to do. So we're looking for new revenue sources. It's just as simple as that. And that's one of the reasons we established the Financial Stability Committee that I mentioned last month. And that committee, I didn't mention at the time, but let me tell you who's on there. It's 2 faculty members, 2 staff members, 2 administrators, and then 2 ex officio members of the Board of Governors. And the members are Dr. Scott Cragen and Dr. Karen Plasinski from the faculty, Aaron Lewis and Jeff Gibson from staff, Rob Hughes and myself, who represent the administration, Dr. Buchanan and Governor McCumber as ex officio members who can attend as their schedules allow. The whole idea there is to take a full, open, and unbiased view of our financial situation, try to chart a path forward, and equally important, to share information back and forth across the campus. It should be two-way information. It needs to go both ways. We need to hear suggestions, and we need to be able to communicate back. But then the final goal is to certainly be creative and eventually develop a sustainable business model for this university moving forward. And a lot of that will have to do with developing new revenue streams. So we're very interested. The other half of that, though, will be cost controls. And that's where expenses come into the, it's very simple. You have revenues and expenses, so you have to balance it somehow. We don't believe we can do it all with expenses. We said that from the start. We won't save that much money with program prioritization. To do it, we need new revenue sources too. And hopefully build a program that over time keeps expenses low and revenues outclimb it. That should be the goal. It may take 3 to 5 years to do it. I know I said that over and over. But to get back to Dr. Lemons, mentioned earlier program prioritization task force and what we now call our continuous quality improvement effort, which came out of our joint meetings with faculty and staff senate, executive committees. We now have kind of figured out a way to roll it out, to get it out in front of people. The report was completed earlier this fall. Went to the executive committees of both the faculty and staff senate for review. We've distributed copies now to the administrative council and then released the documents to all employees shortly after that. And just yesterday, I had a meeting with the administrative council and any faculty and staff members who could attend were welcome to come, where we talked about these voluntary changes that people could make. When their suggestions or through an evaluation process that the task force accomplished, people should have an opportunity to maybe clarify something or have an explanation that was not there, so we can do that. But also to have voluntary suggestions of how to improve an area. I know it came, I think, from Jeff Gibson originally had served on the task force, and in doing so found some things just in his area he could improve and could make more efficient. So we want to give people plenty of chances to do that in this sort of bottom-up approach, where people can report to their supervisors improvements and the cost savings that are attached to those improvements. Move right up the line to other vice presidents can then collect them all. We can put them into a report and see where we are with savings and what we have been able to change. And also look at it to see if everything that is obvious that needs to be modified is actually modified. And if there are some things that are not modified, then we have to do implemented changes. And that would be changes that would be sort of bottom or top down. So those are ones we don't really want to look at and don't like that much. But we'll write that up into a report and then go back to the faculty and staff senate and talk about it again. And try to come up with a list of things that we need to do and accomplish those things. Write a report for the Board of Governors and try to have that done by the end of the semester. I know that's a very aggressive schedule and it might be hard to hit, but that's sort of where we're headed. No, it's not sort of aggressive, it's exactly where we're headed. It is an aggressive schedule, but we need to definitely have this done by the time we start budget work. And at the end of this semester is a really good target date. But again, I too would like to recognize the vital role that the faculty senate, especially executive committee and the staff senate executive play. They've really been very helpful, and 2/3 of the good ideas have come from you guys, I've got to admit, so thank you very much. Along the same line, sticking with the budget and the state budget, this Monday, Governor Walters and I will attend this annual event that the governor hosts, calling it this year his Public Agenda for Higher Education, where we will learn his priorities for the year. And I don't have a clue what those might be yet, so we'll see. It's where he typically announces special projects like Caring for Missourians and those things. If that's what's on his mind, we're not sure. What I hope's on his mind is a budget increase for higher education. Not confident of that, but we'll see. We'll be there in front of him. On a more local level, we do intend to have a legislative luncheon or breakfast or something for our local legislators. It's tentatively scheduled for November 20th. I think that's going to be the day. We're really focused there on reminding them of our capital requests. Year after year, it's been Reynolds Hall, and again, I think we just keep submitting the same thing until they get the picture. And we really want to monitor the development of this funding formula. There's going to be some formula come out of Senator Pierce's efforts last year that didn't quite make it. This year, Kofi has a model that we've submitted. NCCA has a model that's been submitted. I think there's even been a third. Senator Pierce and his group will be working on that, and we just want to make sure that our folks see that it's fair and equitable. So we'll be making those points. What's happened on campus here in this month? Frankly, we've had a somber and sober week. We lost a young man, Tyler Bauer, in a car accident. So it's been a little bit dour this week, and we just want to make sure that we all keep that family in our thoughts and prayers during this time. Big academic question on campus right now. I think Dr. Dworkin hit on was the writing issue. I'm staying completely out of that if I can, because she probably does need a gavel. But we wish her the best, and you know it's the right thing to be doing. It's the correct thing to take on. So just hang in there. I know it's a tough one, but it'll work out. On October 18th, we hosted a luncheon for area superintendents, school superintendents, which went very, very well. Dr. Cade, Al Cade, got to make the case again for our master's in education, which was just really popular and accepted by the superintendents as frankly long overdue. They think they have a lot of people that will be interested, so that was very, very encouraging. Our Italy semester continues to breeze right along. I cease to be amazed at how many things are lined up there for students, faculty, staff, and the community to enjoy. I would encourage all of you to do that. The Plaster School of Business worked on some terrific, really intriguing international partnerships, and we'll have more to share on that in the future, but this is just a really exciting place to be right now, and a lot of great things going on. That's all I have left on my report, because the rest of them gave the rest of the report.
Questions or comments for the president? I might make a comment under old business. When I first came into this position, I was talking about two strategies, about continuous improvement and working together. And I'm sitting here and enjoying it, seeing repeat evidence over and over again. That's probably not the way to say it. Continuous improvement and working together. And I was sitting visiting with Dr. Dworkin at lunch, and she gave me she reminded me of probably a third strategy that we need to be working for, and it's something that I've seen called shared vision. I think we want to head to. We want to have a vision for the future. We want it to be a shared vision where everybody on this campus understands where we want to go, or we want to go, and are able to share with not only with each other, but with others outside our university. So think about that. You're doing really good on the first two. So let's just toy around with it in your mind about where we want to head on the third one. So next item is under new business, presentation of the fiscal year 13 audited financial statements. Who wants to start talking about that first?
I'm happy to do so. As you know, the last couple of months I've mentioned that we anticipated presenting the annual audit for FY 2013 at this board meeting, and I am pleased to announce that we do have representatives here from BKD. We have Rachel Dwiggins and Ryan Civil, and Rachel is going to go over the audit for us, and if we have any questions at the end, she'll entertain those.
All right, good afternoon. You should have a copy of the audit report in front of you. As was mentioned earlier, we did go through this in great detail with the audit committee earlier this morning, so I'm going to give you a very high-level overview of that information, but certainly if anyone has any questions, do not hesitate to ask those. If you turn a couple of pages into the report, you'll see a page titled Independent Auditor's Report on Financial Statements. That is our opinion letter. I'm happy to report that the university did receive an unmodified opinion this year, which basically means a clean opinion. The university is considered a component unit of the state of Missouri, and the foundation is considered a component unit of the university under accounting standards. So there is some information related to the foundation in this report that is separately audited, but it is a requirement to pull that into this audit report. On page 4 is management's discussion and analysis of the financial statements. This is a nice read to give you an overview of the financial statements. It is, again, required by standards. We review it to make sure there's nothing in there that contradicts with the financial statements themselves, but it is not technically audited. So let's flip right to the financial statements, which are on page 13. Page 13 is are the statements of net position, kind of the equivalent of the balance sheet. Total assets were down about $2.6 million over the prior year, and really that is can pretty much solely be attributed to a decrease in your capital assets line item as a result of depreciation. There is a shift between current and non-current, and that is basically a result of the timing of when your investments in the CEDARS program come due. More of that was considered short-term in the current fiscal year. Then on the right-hand side of the page are your liabilities and net position. Total liabilities were down about $1.6 million, and that is primarily a result of the payments that were made on the long-term debt that was outstanding during the year. And the two of those net together to make your net position, which did decrease about $993,000 over the prior year. Do want to point out that unrestricted net position actually increased, however, about $972,000. So most of that decrease was in the investment in capital assets, which I mentioned earlier. Then on page 15 is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. We previously referred to this as the SHRECNIP, but I realize we're going to have to change that to maybe the SHRECNIP due to accounting standards changes. Total operating revenues were down about $592,000, and operating expenses were up about $1.4 million. So the net of those two creates your operating loss. The primary increase in expenses was in the compensation and benefits line item. There, you might recall, there was a salary increase given during the year, which is a big portion of that. Also, increases in the Mosher's rates played into that as well. Under GASB standards, state appropriations and federal Pell Grants are required to be reported as non-operating revenues. However, those are obviously very significant items that you see listed about midway down the page there. State appropriations did increase over last year, about $277,000. The final financial statement of the university is on page 18 and 19, and that is the statement of cash flows, which really converts that statement of revenues and expenses into more of a cash basis and shows where how your cash came in the door and how what it was spent on. Then the footnotes begin on page 20. I will not spend a lot of time going through those. The footnotes are designed to provide you a lot more narrative information regarding accounting policies, a lot more detail about the individual line items on the financial statements themselves. And then the second half of the audit is the audit of the federal awards. So if you turn to page 46, you will see the various federal programs that the university expended money under. And that was just under $43 million in fiscal year 13, with obviously the most significant portion of that being student financial aid. It's a very defined process that we have to go to determine which programs have to be audited in detail. And this year there were two programs or clusters of programs, student financial aid as well as the TRIO cluster. If you turn to page 52 and 53, you'll see a summary of the results of that audit. As I mentioned earlier, the financial statement opinion was unmodified. We did have one significant deficiency in internal control with respect to the financial statements, which I'll discuss in just a minute. But I am happy to report that with respect to compliance over the federal awards programs, we had no findings, with respect to internal control or compliance itself. And that's very detailed testing that we have to go through, so the fact that there are no findings there is a big testament to the...
One question.
Yeah.
For the benefit of those that weren't at the committee, you might go into the unmodified compared to unqualified?
Yes. Yeah, that is a terminology change by regulations. Unmodified is really the new term for unqualified. Just means we did not have to qualify the audit opinion with respect to departures from accounting standards, things of that nature. If you will turn to page 54, this is the one item I mentioned that we did have as part of the audit this year, and this is with respect to reconciliation of the Perkins loan program. The university does use a third-party processor, and while the accounts on the general ledger did not require any adjustment, as a part of the audit, the internal controls surrounding that were not functioning as documented during the year. So in other words, the reconciliation to the third-party processor reports were not occurring. I can tell you subsequent to the audit that has been corrected and is now being reconciled on a monthly basis. Any questions on the audit report? The other item of information that you have in front of you, you should see a letter. The first part of that letter is basically defines our responsibilities under auditing standards as well as required communications with those charged with governance. And then the second half of that letter gets into a discussion of internal control, defining what a material weakness is, what a significant deficiency is from there. And as I mentioned, the Perkins loans, that was the one significant deficiency. There were a couple of other items included in that letter as noted as deficiencies. Those are items that are not deemed that they could have a material impact on your financial statements, but things that we felt were worth mentioning. One was with respect to IT user access. When we're looking at internal controls as they surround the financial statements, IT is obviously an important component of that. And so one of the samples we looked at, there was an employee whose account was not locked off until 4 months after he left the university. So I know, again, controls have been put in place to expedite that process so that does not occur again in the future as well. And then the final few pages of that letter are really just other items that we wanted to talk to the committee about, things that we're seeing in industry and practice, and so we had a lot of discussion on those earlier this morning as well. Any questions on the audit letter?
Comments at all?
All right, well, we appreciate all the efforts that go into allowing us to be able to present this to you at this meeting. This is a very quick turnaround for a June 30 fiscal year end, so it takes a lot of effort from Linda and her group to pull this together as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The committee has a recommendation in the form of a motion.
Yes, they do, Mr. Chairman. Before I make that, I would just like to compliment the presentation you gave us at our committee. I've sat through a lot of those through the years at different entities. Very, very informative and very appreciated. The committee voted to accept the audit, and so on behalf of the committee, I make that motion for you.
Do we have a second, please?
I'll second.
Alderman Fleischaker will second it. All those in favor, aye, please.
Aye.
Any nays? I think so. Thank you. And thank you. I agree. I haven't had the experience that Governor McCumber has, but it was very good to the point. Next, we have Dr. Lemons again, and she's going to talk to us about consideration of academic policy proposals.
So we had quite a few proposals to offer up for consideration this time, and I thought it might be worthwhile to go ahead and explain why the number of that is so many, and then also to give you a heads up that next month will be worse. Currently, we have about 66 items within our academic policies proposal packet, and we're seeing that number because it is that time within our calendar that we are undergoing catalog revisions of all of our curriculum. We have a 2-year catalog cycle here, and currently we're operating within the 2012-14 catalog. We're getting ready to a new catalog for 2014-16. And so that always, at our university, is always a great time for departments to go back and review what their curriculum looks like and to go ahead and implement any changes that need to happen. Any type of work within curriculum is a fluid dynamic. So that's where we are. And definitely our academic policies committee at this time of the year is really quite busy in reviewing all of the proposed changes and then getting them through the channels on our campus for approval. And that's what you all will see as well. I hope that clarifies.
Thank you for the explanation. For some of us that wondered why it was, sometimes it was hardly anything and sometimes we just seemed like it was massive.
To give you an example, this time we have about 66 items. The agenda for Monday's meeting is almost 400 items.
Wow.
That's a lot of work for one committee, but it is that time of the season and that time within our catalog year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Dr. Lennox? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Dr. Cannon. Move and Fleischaker, second. Go with Fleischaker. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor, aye, please. Aye. Didn't hear, any nays at all? I didn't hear any. Thank you. Next, we have kind of a team effort to make a presentation here. It's going to start out with Dr. Marvel.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a little quick introduction of this idea. As we focus on continuous quality improvement, which is really what we should be doing, there's no question, but it drives us toward numbers and ratios and percentages and all those. That's important. Those are important metrics for us to follow. But the reason we do that is so that we can better serve students. It's really all about student success. So we want to keep reminding ourselves that that's the outcome. That's the outcome we're looking for. Last month we had Alex Reed that spoke, and we had Tobin Schultz here earlier. It's a great example. So today we're going to feature our department a little bit, and I'll let Dr. Williams introduce Josie, I guess, and show what great things are going on in the art world. And that serves as a little bit of ballast for your brain, since we had all this left brain audit stuff. There we go.
Yes, it's my pleasure to do that. I just want to say too that I think our art department has been very active within the community. We have about 6 members in the art department, and they seem to be featured regularly within our Focus on Faculty newsletter, so that tells you how active they really are. And so I'd like to go ahead and introduce Christine Bentley. She's our new chair of the art department, and I can tell you that she has hit the floor running since she has taken over here a few months back. So Christine, I'll turn it over to you.
We have pictures. You know, we can kill the lights that are on the screen. That'd be great. Thank you. That's better.
Well, good afternoon. As Crystal mentioned, my name is Christine Bentley. I'm the new department chair. I come to you from Indianapolis, where I've been teaching for the past year or so. But I've been very excited to be here at MSSU and working with the faculty that I have in the art department. They're, in short, amazing. They're doing lots of wonderful things, and they've been doing some great things the past couple years that we're hoping to continue, which is what we're going to highlight, and Josie's going to speak a lot about what we've been doing within the community. One thing that we wanted to highlight for you is, as an introduction to, why is art important to the community? Because one of our emphasis is to continue to work with the community to not only do community outreach, but to try to bring the community to campus so that we can potentially do some programming with school-age children. Josie works with art ed students K through 12, and recently had preschoolers on campus.
Yesterday we had Little Lions from the community, the Children's Center, come make make art, and then we'll have a reception in the library.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
We're happy to continue to do more things such as that. But as you can see here, I was forwarded an email by a colleague that was from a not-for-profit magazine, and then I also had been given an article that was published through Princeton University that was discussing, why is art important to the community, not just to those who are interested in the arts, but why is art important to those who really might not be interested in the arts. And some of the things that were highlighted in the articles is that art brings people to the area interested in cultural diversity, cultural activities, and entertainment, that it brings in business. As you can see here on the slide, that it states that the arts are not for profit, however, they are not revenue neutral. And one of the things that they were talking in the Princeton University publication was that it really brings in people to places in ways that that make fertile ground for subsequent business development. And that's one of the things that I find really interesting. I think a lot of people don't realize how the arts bring in those that are interested in cultural diversity, come into a community and find the arts very attractive. And so therefore what you're doing is you're bringing in business, you're bringing in business owners who ultimately not only contribute to the community, but create jobs and bring a lot of revenue. Also, the arts promote cultural diversity and a sense of community into our community, and I think that that's also very important. And it builds interpersonal ties. Some of the things that they talked about in the Princeton University article was that it builds into interpersonal ties, increases cultural and social capital, enhances visuospatial reasoning, and increases tolerance of others. And ultimately also it increases community aesthetic. So why are the arts important to the university community? Well, here we've got a long list, and I'll let you kind of read through that as I shorten that for you a bit here. But some of the things that it does for the university community is that what we're trying to do within the art department with our students, which ultimately we're hoping sort of spreads out into the university community as they take other classes outside of the department or they go out to the community themselves, is that it's promoting critical thinking and study. Also with our art appreciation courses, we're hoping to promote art appreciation. Also, we emphasize contextual studies and understanding that visual arts both shape and are shaped by cultural practices and a sense of audience. We look to multi-module communication, which recognizes, it's a recognition that communication involves images, sound, movement, and text to create meaning, and also building interpersonal ties. But some of our emphasis within the art department and within our courses is to have the students develop critical thinking skills, analytical reasoning, and develop their communication ability as they take our courses. But you can see here, just to highlight some of these, is that we think as artists, and as myself as an art historian, that through the arts, through the visual arts specifically, it really speaks to all people. Really, of course, we all approach a work of art and we may or may not like it, but it's something that really has a universal language to it that really brings people together, which is important to those of us who are working within the arts specifically. So, Jessica's going to tell you how are we applying this directly.
Pictures are coming. Here they come. I'm going to concentrate on our face to the city and the world. You can read in our catalog about what our courses are, what we do. We have about 100 actually full-time majors, 6 or 7 staff, adjuncts, a new BFA program, studio, and graphic design. We have the art education program where they are certified to teach K through 12, which I direct that part. Our face to the city of Joplin, the Joplin area, and the world, we are intimately involved as faculty and students in these organizations and businesses. This is just a short list. Through internships, community service, or service learning as we call it, and actual employment while they're in school and after they graduate. Our personal face is our MSSU Spiva Gallery, which I hope you've been to. It's an educational space, but it's also open to the public. Focal Point is our art department club, and I'll show you evidence of their work in the community in a moment. We have a huge involvement with George A. Spiva Center for the Arts downtown. I've been on the board there since I moved here 8 years ago. I chair the education committee. In fact, we have students that are on the education committee. So they're getting real world experience just like this room on making decisions for a nonprofit. Public and private schools. Seth Wolfschorndl is the head of the art department in the arts at Joplin High School. He's been intimately involved in the new high school project, the new curriculum they're developing, and we've been consulting about that. Many of our teachers and graduates from here, as you saw Alex last month, are involved in the local schools, including our teachers. Downtown Alliance that runs the Art Walk. We've had student internships, we've had volunteering. Our focal point has a presence every month. We have a gallery at 5th and Main that you might have seen. I'll show you that. We have volunteers work with Art Feeds. Meg Bourne, who started Art Feeds, was a student at Missouri Southern. I consulted with her at the very beginning of that process, and she asked me what my thoughts were on how to start that organization. We have students work with Choice Marketing, Phoenix Fired Art on that Main Street corridor. We take students to Chicago every spring for a printmaking conference. I've taken 3 trips of students to New York City. We plan on doing that. Every summer we have a Sweden trip where they learn darkroom photography and Scandinavian art history. It's like a dozen years, I think that's been running. For the first time, we're taking students to Italy. Yay, I'm going. I've never been. We hope to take it to joint psychology and art trip. It's gonna be wonderful. And all that builds to graduate school. Now that we have a BFA, we are encouraging these students to pursue graduate studies beyond Joplin, beyond even the region. So we're thrilled about that. Here's the pictures. Here's our MSSU Spiva Gallery. Total makeover. We built these walls just in August, right as Christine got here. This is our Italy show. I hope you got to see this. This was a monster of a show that we couldn't even get all the pictures up. There were so many images. It was wonderful. This is the next show we just tore down, Reinventing the Renaissance. We picked 15 images, had students and faculty respond, make artwork in response to these images. Wonderful shows. We hope to do more of that, community mixing, even maybe inviting local artists to participate in these shows. Here's the Focal Point Gallery downtown at 5th and Main. It's an empty building, but the owner just lets us pro bono use the space each month. It's a wonderful deal. We need more electricity though, I think is the issue. Here are the prints. They do an original screen print every month for this. This is a lot of work, and I know our dean, Richard Miller, collects these, and they're up around the office, which is wonderful. This was from, I can't remember, yeah, May 2013, and you can just have one for a donation to the art department. It's wonderful. They're very high quality prints. This is the inside. See the lack of light over there? This is the inside of the Focal Point Gallery. At the bottom of the screen are Focal Point members at Crystal Bridges. We also do field trips and things to get them out of the area, often for the first time ever. I want to go deep very briefly with how this art thing has happened in the community. The spring just before the tornado, I was working with Spiva Center for the Arts. We had written a grant to hire Dave Lowenstein from Lawrence, Kansas, to come do this Joplin mural at 15th and Main. Then the tornado came, and his process is a community art base. He asked for opinions about images from everyone from kindergarten up to 80 years old. We have a design team. I helped write that grant. Several students and 2 faculty members were a part of this process. I recommended Kyle McKenzie as the mentor, or the apprentice on this project, who's an adjunct faculty member and a graduate of Missouri Southern. He did an amazing job. Therefore, this is us at the dedication ceremony. It's Kyle right there speaking about the process. Joe Mueller, Spiva Center for the Arts, and some other folks on in there. Then Kyle, just a year later, was able to do his own mural from what he learned for Webb City and partner with the Webb City Farmers Market. He mentored 2 or 3 students, including 2 of our own, 1 Pitt State student, to help him with his mural. And that's Kyle at his dedication at Webb City just a year later. Jordan Murdoch was one of his students. And here's the tunnel that was referred to earlier. That's Jordan Murdoch, pulled this whole thing together with Staff Senate. And so do you see the turnaround? I mean, quick results, very visual results in the community. Jordan continues to do artwork in the community. I'm really proud of her. So that's just an example of, since the storm, the visual arts have just like exploded. And we've been right in the middle of that. And it's been such an honor and exciting thing. For 1 year, I had a studio in Carthage called the Beehive Collaborative. It was an experimental education studio where I taught art to kids and adults, businesses as well, to do collaborative projects together. And then for what I wanted it to be, was a huge success. I continue to do these kinds of projects at SPIVA, at Missouri Southern, and I don't have to pay the rent on this. So it's a good deal. Here's another shot of that. There's some local students and parents working on a piece. We've also been involved, you know, in all the other community art projects that have been going on. This is Governor Mrs. Nixon posing with some of us at the Spirit Tree at, right next to the old high school. This was a public art project of a group called The Tank, formed after the mural at 15th and Main, and they continue to do projects around town. Audubon Center, they just did a project with SPIVA. So this community collaboration and partnership with Missouri Southern continued. This is on campus, just downstairs. We worked with Ricky Smith for the Martin Luther King Service Day the past few years to do a community-wide, campus-wide art project that anyone could participate in, not just artists. So this was a projection I did of Martin Luther King in the lobby of the Union, and students or faculty or staff would come by and trace their hand and add their hand to the face of Dr. King. So you got to see it kind of evolve during the whole day. It's wonderful. This is our students in Sweden. They're tired. They traveled. But this is Frank Pishker there in the plaid shirt. He's one of our faculty members in ceramics, and he happened to take the trip that year. It's a wonderful experience. This is the plan, the sketch, the study for the mural that's going up at First and Main. You might have seen this going on. Downtown Alliance contacted our department and said, okay, this mural thing is huge. We want to do one too. Will you do it for us? And we're like, whoa. So we discussed who that would be. Bert Butcher has led that effort, our faculty member, with Focal Point. This is only like half of the plan. This is just a few days ago. It's being painted, yay. This is one of our BFA students, Leanne, starting the color process on this. You've probably seen the scaffolding, there's a truck bed. I mean, it's really complicated. They hope to have it done, a lot of it done by winter, and we'll see how it goes through the spring. So we're glad to be involved in that. This was just last week. This is Donna Colt, art teacher at Diamond High School, graduate of Missouri Southern. I invited her to bring some of her students, her high school students, and we did this collaborative project together in our hallway, because we don't have any space. all our classes were full of classes, so we did this in the hallway with them as a way to think about recruiting some local high school students into the art department. We had a great time. Thumbs up, double thumbs up. This is our graphics lab. In addition to the SPIVA gallery, we've really done some huge improvements to the limited space we have. We threw out 20 years probably worth of junk, and we got to clear out the current graphics lab, which this is, repaint it. Huge effort by physical plant, painting department, IT, unbelievable. We have all new Mac computers now. How many do we have, like 16, 17? 20, okay, so we can accommodate 20 now. And now here, this is just a couple days ago, it's fully functional now, and the students are utilizing it, and our graphics faculty are loving it. There's bugs, there always are, but we're working on it. And yeah, I'll just have Christine in with a couple thoughts.
Well, just continuing with the idea of why is art important to the MSS community at large. Some of the things that we've highlighted is that it promotes creative and innovative thinking. We do this daily within our classes. We do this to both majors, art majors, and non-art majors in our art appreciation classes. And we do have non-art majors taking some of our other art classes. And so, also, we see that our students are developing verbal, analytical, and communication skills necessary to not only what they're doing within our art classes, but their courses beyond their art courses. Our quality curriculum is creating innovators in the visual arts, and ultimately innovators just in life in general as they go on past graduation. And we have an emphasis on diversity within studio and art history courses in particular. I teach non-Western art in addition to the traditional Western art history surveys. I actually have a specialization in Islamic art, and so I pull in some of my background teaching or studying Middle Eastern art. And then we also offer African art class, full semester African art class. And so we're really hoping to promote cultural and social diversity.
And then we've got a list, and we won't go over these details, obviously, of short-term and long-term goals. I guess if you're wondering, after seeing what we've seen, what our next steps are, Christine already has a vision, just being here for 3 or 4 months now, of where to lead us, which I'm so thankful. Thank you. So, do you want to say anything about those?
You could just look at some of our short-term goals. Of course, it's increasing enrollment. Increasing enrollment and focusing on strategies for retention of the students that we do have and any that incoming students is really important. And some of those ideas that I have initially is to just create a sense of community within the art department, to make the students feel that they belong to a unit, a solid unit, and continue to offer quality education and courses to the students. Also, I think it's important to increase our presence on campus, do some more collaborative projects or courses with some of the different departments. One of the other things that I would like to do is a sculpture walk on campus. I participated in creating a public sculpture walk where I was at previously, and it was hugely successful. It really brought people to campus, and it really, not only did we have, as an art department, more of a presence on campus, but just brought art, extended the artwork beyond just the art department and the gallery out into the campus community so that people can enjoy art on a larger scale. I think that's always makes an impression on people. But some of the long-term goals, expanding our presence within the community, applying for grants to help improve facilities and opportunities for students to travel, larger, newer facilities, a community room. We'd like to have a community room where we can do some more of these community projects. And continuing with the gallery program as part of the short-term goals, but it's also a long-term goal. It's another way that we can be involved with the art community and job, pull people to campus to see quality exhibitions.
And then we just have this as part of the record, but if you're not convinced that the arts raises test scores is important in the general education, here's that information. So we just have that there. And one of my favorite recent stories is, you remember Gerald Lee just retired, was it last year, from a physical plant, and I had his daughter, my first year here in the art education program. She's now teaching Kansas City art, and Gerald's now taking painting classes with us. So that's wonderful to see him still on campus and actually engaging in the arts for himself, so that's wonderful. Excellent, that's our presentation. Any questions or comments, or probably not appropriate?
Anybody? I'd like to make some comments. A couple of my was at a presentation yesterday put on by Chair Bashore and look for the young lady's name here.
Emily Frankowski.
It's Emily Frankowski, I think is the way she pronounced it. And they're with Connect to Culture.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, that's a huge endeavor to finally publicize all the arts events in town through one email. They're also doing some philanthropy. They're involved in, they're not-for-profit that's involved in promoting the arts, including ours. So we send them our stuff and they promote it.
And that's right, they regard you as a very significant partner.
Excellent.
And so the front page tells about them, the back page tells about all the activities related to art that we got going on, and this is from October 14th through October 20th, all the way down to here. And this is all the current exhibitions going on. And there's a lot of people that have interest and support in this area of art. I might make one suggestion to you. I was looking at your goals.
Sure.
And it's really a suggestion for all of us. Dr. Marble has talked about the decreasing appropriations we've been getting. We are going to be looking more and more for financial support from private, outside the university. You all have many people around that are interested in art, they support art, they would probably invest in activities or facilities that would advance art, that might be something you might want to consider too. Because you have, I continue to hear about it, how much activity there is and interest in this community. So, good presentation.
I make one comment. Great presentation. I appreciate that and appreciate what you do in the community. I'm very aware of it. Anyway, but the point, Christine, that you made about increased enrollment and retention and creating community, I think is a lesson all of us should think about, not just in art, but in every part of our campus, because that's another way to generate revenues to keep students once we have them. So I'm really glad that you made that point.
And sort of a connected point that's also related to this shared vision.
Yes, it is.
Goal, because
yes, it is. You're right.
I mean, we've got looking for donations for steel drums. We've got international mission. We've got maybe more going on with Islamic art. We've got all the sculptures that have been produced in the past that were related to, you know, when we had like the Eiffel Tower and then we have the Berlin Wall or whatever. So, I mean, we have already a kind of shared vision in some ways that the arts really helps to make obvious, that does bring the whole community together, you know, and when students are walking across or underneath campus or underneath, you know, they can go by a mural, and I mean, it's good for the art students who are involved in that, but it also, as you already made this point, but you know, it brings the whole community together. So it gives us a sense that we're in this special place, you know, and we have a real community.
We didn't get a chance to mention, but we're working on branding the art department. So creating a t-shirt specific to the art department and little buttons, and just a way, again, for the students to feel as though they're part of something, a unit, even though they're at the university, have this little niche that's just their own. I think it's very important.
I just had a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt. My brother actually manages the artwork at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport and up in Field. But do you have a composite of all the artwork on campus as far as if somebody was to go look and see if they wanted to look at something in particular? Is that something we do have, or?
I don't think at this point, no, but something we could consider.
We house our own permanent African art collection in the department, but as far as artwork out and about in the buildings, and that's not, we're not in control of that list, or even know if there is a list of that.
I was just.
That's a great goal though, long term, establish a bigger permanent collection, accessible.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great. Obviously, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No.
No.
All I was gonna say is, I can't express it as well as these two ladies did, but they have many goals for the future, and one of them is in Joplin, a Center for Arts and Entertainment / amphitheater. And they're wanting to move forward, and they can tell people about it. And obviously, we want to keep up with them, don't we?
Yeah.
So that'd be great.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As you know, I'm a huge supporter of liberal arts and arts in general. The friend that I grew up with since kindergarten, who practiced law with my father for a number of years, had significant pressure to become a lawyer or a doctor or some way that he could support himself. And he had a huge amount of pressure his family discouraged him from going into the arts because they were absolutely sure he was going to starve to death. And how could he support himself? And I always admired him because he had the courage to go out and do what he wanted to do in the arts. He now is a professor at the Kansas City Art Institute. He has huge pieces of public art all over Kansas City and in other places in the country. But I always admired him, and I pass this on to your students, I always admired him for having the courage to say, no, this is who and what I am, and this is what I want to do. I think art is critically important to society at large. And he had the best comeback for, I'm sure, the comment that is the bane of every art student who hangs something on the wall and people come through and they look at it and they say, well, I could do that. It doesn't look hard. I can do that. So I like to poke him, and one day I poked him. I went to a show that he had in Kansas City, and I looked at some of his work hanging on the wall, and I said, you know, Jim, I can do that. And he turned to me and he says, yes, but could you do it if you had never seen it before? So, good for those that have the courage to say this is who and what I am and this is what I want to do. It's hard to do in this world. Everybody wants to be trained for a job or a vocation or a way to make a living. And it's hard to make a living as an artist. So, more power to you.
Any other comments? Thank you very much for that presentation. Any other items? Okay, we need to have an executive session. I guess we need a roll call vote.
Move to go into executive session.
Second.
Go into executive session, thank you. A motion, and so we've got a motion by Governor Anderson and a second by Governor Ewing. Now I believe.
Now we'll have it.
Thank you.
Ron Anderson.
Yes.
Sherry Buchanan.
Yes.
Lynn Ewing.
Yes.
Jim Fleischafer.
Yes.
Keith Hankins.
Yes.
Mitch McCumber.
Yes.
Richard Walter.
Yes. Thank you. I think this will conclude the open part of our meeting. Thank you for coming today. Thanks for all the presents. Okay, thank you.
It'll also be online if anybody wants to look, limit to tell you.